Everybody, this video is going to explain what the experimental procedure is and what you need to do for it for the pre-lab. Okay, experimental procedure, super straightforward. Okay, this is different than the general procedure, something that gets confused. So the general procedure is something that you do before you get to lab that describes the steps that you should take. The experimental procedure, when you get to lab, should be blank, but as you do the lab, should be filled in. So you're going to have, again, I'm just picking some sort of random lab. Lab 9 seems to be the one that happens. So cyclohexanone. Okay, your heading, your page number 318, whatever it is, and then you're going to write experimental procedure. Okay, and then when you come to lab, that's all you have. Then, as you do the lab, you're going to do bullet points. Now, it's much better to be more detailed than less detailed, because the more details that you provide, the more likely it is that as you go to write up your lab and do your analysis in your abstract, you'll be able to refer back and get good information from it. If you don't have good details, you're going to get points taken off, and it's going to be harder to get that done. So, get the analysis figured out. So, here's the idea. When you write up when you're starting to write your experimental procedure, first of all, if you're working in groups, every person in the group should write up your experimental procedure, write up the experimental procedure. What you need to do is you need to write the things that you used, the quantities and observations right then and there. So you're going to say obtained personal protective equipment, mixed cyclohexanone, and then if you want to put parentheses, like 38.1 milliliters. Now that number may be slightly different than the one in your physical constant sheet, but that's okay. It's fine. Okay? You've recorded what it should be. You've recorded what you added. Okay? And if you're doing experiment 9 or you're using this as your guide for experiment 9, it's not going to be 38.1 milliliters. I'm not giving you an answer. Okay? But then below it, what you can do is you can say clear viscous liquid. Okay? Liquid. That gives me an idea of what cyclohexanol looks like. Okay? It's clear and it's thick. Okay, maybe it's yellow. Maybe it is smelly. Okay, pungent is a good word. Okay, you avoid, when you're writing your experimental procedure, you avoid subjective terms like pea green, because peas can range in color. So you don't want to say pea green. You want to say a bright green or a vibrant green or a Kelly green. Okay, you want to just keep it to non-subjective terms. Okay, and keep in mind there's also a difference between clear and colorless. Clear means you can look through it; it is transparent. Okay, colorless means that it has no color. So it's very possible that something is yellow, but clear yellow liquid. Okay, so make sure that you have that. You always, typically in science, again, not anything that I'm necessarily looking for, but when you start doing this for real, you'll see that we typically use 2 adjectives to describe whatever it is. So we'll describe its color and its consistency, and then if it's a liquid or a solid or whatever. Okay, so it's a powdery white solid, or a fluffy yellow solid. Okay, then you can say mixed cyclohexanone, and then you can say heated, and again you want to write, like if you heated something, you want it heated for 60 minutes. And then through that, you want to be like 5 minutes. Reached max temp. You know, you want to keep writing observations down because science, organic chemistry is a science of observation. Well, all of science is a skill, is an observation skill. And so if you're just writing the procedure without adding observation, I get very grumpy. You can't do a lab, you can't have this experience if you're not doing hands-on and writing what you see and what you hear and what you smell and what you not taste. But you have to keep your senses going, and you need to keep it writing down. And so the experimental procedure is what happens in the lab as you do that. And your experimental procedure should be the last thing that you enter in your pre-lab, because you're going to write your experimental procedure the first night of lab, and then when you get your lab book back for the second night of lab, you're going to pick up right where you left off with the experimental procedure, and then it's nice and continuous. Okay? So that's the difference between an experimental procedure and a general procedure, and the general procedure or the experimental procedure should be really well detailed. So you notice that here now we've gone over a lot of the pre-lab stuff at this point. Okay, so that's experimental procedure, and so have a great time.